Hello everybody. Well, as many of you know, the EU Machinery Regulation will shortly replace the Machinery Directive as of January 2027. Well, today I've got the opportunity to talk to Mr. Jason Reed of Pilts and to ask him about what the differences actually are.
Okay, so the fundamental change really is around cybersecurity and self-evolving behaviour, so AI. When the Machinery Directive was first introduced over 25 years ago, we didn't have, Internet of Things. We didn't have Industry 4.0. These things have evolved in time, and as a result of that, there's threats and vulnerabilities now to machines for the need to ever connect them together. So the main change to the regulation is an emphasis on how you would protect yourself through AI and cybersecurity. You can now provide instructions digitally, whereas before they had to be in a paper format, and that includes your declaration of conformity or declaration of incorporation. And one of the other key changes really is that what used to happen is Brussels would create the directive and it would be up to each member state to transpose that into their own statute law, but it becomes law verbatim, the regulation, and so there can be no interpretation issues.
Right, okay.
So in theory or in practice, it should be that no matter where you buy your machine from within the EU, they should be common. There shouldn't be any differences because of the interpretations.
Okay, so that does sort of beg the question that there are going to be variances in what you come across, and really then it's a case of where do people involved in machine building, where do they start? So where would you recommend someone to start in terms of dealing with the change in this legislation?
Yeah, the best thing to do is bring yourself up to speed with the machinery regulation itself. So you can download that or a white paper. You can come to our website at Pilts. You can have a look at the information that we have there on our services dedicated page. That will tell you about the changes to the directive, to the regulation. We've got our own white paper that will run through those changes. We also offer webinars, we do training, or give us a call and we'll come in and sit down and we'll have a one-to-one chat with where you are and potentially where you need to be.
So everybody's going to have a slightly different parameter start point, shall we say? So there isn't one answer that will go across everybody.
No, I mean every machine is different.
Right.
So depending on what you're manufacturing, that's going to have an influence on what hardware, software potentially you're going to have to introduce. So yeah, there's not really a one. Though you have to comply to the regulation, there's not really a one-stop solution for everybody.
Right, understood. Now, one of the things that I've noticed is what Pilts are dealing with is very fact-based when it comes to these things. Why is that? Why did Pilts choose to operate that way?
Well, I'd like to think we're renowned within the industry, really, for being the go-to company for safety. And a lot of that is not just because of the products that we supply, but also the knowledge and the expertise that we have within industry. So it's not just sharing, this is the product you need for that application. It's giving the know-how and the expertise as to why you need that product.
Right, that's quite an important point to think about, because there are low-cost products out there, but they don't necessarily come with the same backup.
No, so we'll supply you the hardware to achieve compliance, but we'll also give you the knowledge and the expertise for your technical file, for instance, or what other paperwork you might need with regards to verification, validation. So we'll give you all of that knowledge effectively, or advice, so that you can achieve compliance.
Okay. Now, can I go back to the subject of AI, digital technologies? Now, obviously, those things have advanced and there are changes, but there still seems to be some uncertainty about some of those areas. Could you just tell, what's the impact of these technologies?
Yeah, so the regulation talks about self-evolving behaviour, not AI, and it talks about cybersecurity, and they are two different topics. So AI really, and the self-evolving behaviour, as it suggests, it's always learning, so it's always changing. And for machinery safety, we don't like that. We like to know what the outcome of something is. And so if we look at things like 13849, for instance, for safety systems, you need to be able to ensure what an outcome would be and how to protect yourself against that. With evolving behaviour, obviously you can't do that because it's forever changing. So at the minute, for machinery safety, it's there's conflicting views and arguments about how that should be introduced and how can we protect ourselves against it. And so self-evolving behaviour, it will be classed as an Annex 1. It's classed as a dangerous machine, or in this case it could be software, for instance. So that would have to be certified by a third party.
Right, so really again this begs the question that with the threats that we've seen, with some of the things that are happening in the retail market, for example, at the moment, this is obviously a subject that's worth getting professional help with in terms of that. So again, the resource at Pilts is going to be helpful.
Yeah, so we've introduced a new training course which is aimed specifically at cybersecurity and around industrial automation and control systems. When it comes to cybersecurity, then we're looking at things like programmable safety controllers, for instance, HMIs, and it's how you protect yourself from somebody being able to reprogram or hacking and change a parameter, for instance, because that could all have a loss of the safety function. And if that's the case, then obviously that could lead to a dangerous situation from happening.
Right, okay, there's quite a lot in that. Well, look, Jason, thank you so much for the explanation that you've given on these areas. So if you're watching the video today and you need to look at this area, familiarise yourself, one of the main aspects that I've found from my visit to Pilts today is that there is a depth of information which is freely available here. So it makes sense to tap into this knowledge and to find out for yourself. But one of the things as well is that each individual situation very clearly needs expert guidance, and certainly Pilts are in a position to provide that. So why not contact Jason and the team here at Pilts and find out how they can help you. Thanks ever so much for watching, and we look forward to seeing you on the next video.